coming. When I retired out of the service, actually my husband and my daughters were all there. And that was very moving because also during this time I had exchange students, all right? And they came up too. So they saw a whole different element of what it's like to be a nurse, a mother, and remember then I was going to drill every month. Okay, I was gone from Friday to Sunday. And the kids, I think, have a definite, probably grew up really good because they were actually having to be very independent for their whole life. And my kids, when we were at Desert Storm, I know I'm digressing, but this is funny. She was 17, and she would take them to their basketball games or softball or whatever they're going through. She would walk in, and you saw 3 little chicks following her right to where she was going. She stood up, they stood up on the way out. So, you know, she did a good job. I gave her a lot of credit. Coming home, though, we did not get debriefed like they did after Vietnam. We never got debriefed either. We came home, and they threw things at us, and they did all this other crazy stuff. So that's why you see a lot of resentment with Vietnam. We were never given what they got after different Desert Storm, for one, okay? And a lot of them really got very bitter and got into drugs and got into wanting to isolate themselves because they just didn't get time to say, you know, one day I'm a civilian. I go into the military. I get sent to Vietnam. I get sent to wherever, and I'm expected to kill people. We've never done that. So then we come back to the United States, and they say, you did a good job, go ahead and leave. I have the mentality now as a killer, all right? So you see some of that today. And anytime you take somebody and put them into a hostile environment or whatever, you should be able to bring them home, give them so much time to deprogram, to have them back into the setting of understanding that we don't go down to the guy gives you a finger and you want to shoot him. It doesn't work that way. You've got to be a little bit, you know, understanding and accepting. Plus, to be honest, I'm not really in favor of multiple deployments. All right, we deployed once. I served a month later, and we came back. But now these guys and women are being deployed. They come back, and many times they're home 6 months, and they're being redeployed. All right? How do they ever get their mindset back? They don't. And you're seeing more women that are coming back as combat tragedies, losing limbs, having PTSD, closed head injuries. Do we know how to treat her? No. I will say that down at Fort Sam, they have an area there which handles patients that have multiple amputees. And they've got a whole new system, and I saw it, and it was state of the art. So in that respect, they were giving them mobility. As far as burns, have you ever seen major burns? We have to get into their psyche. How do they want to live when their face is gone? You know, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot out of people to try to help them through that. After I left the VA, because I had 4 kids, and the fact that nobody really wants to babysit for 4 kids, especially when 3 of them are preschool, and they wanted us to go to work full time. That's when I left the VA. Okay, I worked home health for a year, and then decided to own my own home health agency, and I did. I owned it for between 7 and 8 years. The last year I did it, though, was the year I went to Desert Storm. So I came back and found out, you know, I don't think I can do a lot of this anymore. So they'd asked me if I would teach at the college, and I said, well, I don't know. Then after a while I thought, yeah, that doesn't sound so bad. So I went to teach at Grayson. And I'm a clinician. I love to work with people and patients and families. And my students, I love students in a hospital or in a clinical setting. I don't do well lecturing, as you probably can understand right now. Lecturing to me, because having the years I had, I couldn't really decrease to tell them what the basics were. I wanted to give them all my knowledge in a 2-hour block. Well, let me tell you, it didn't work too well. So I told them over there, I said, just let me do clinical. And so I did. I did double clinicals. I did part of them here in Bonham, and I did part of them at TMC. Did part of them over at Red River, which used to be Red River. So I had students everywhere from freshman year all the way up to graduates. but I wanted to give them the knowledge they needed to work successfully in a hospital. And that's changed a lot too. You know, we used to take care of patients. You got that word, patients? Now we spend over half of our day charting. And why do you do it? Because you CYA. You know what CYA is, right? Because if you don't document everything that you've done, then they feel you haven't done it. And if they feel you haven't done it and you go to court, you could easily lose your license. All right, so that's the part I really dislike. You're caring for many, many patients and having to do all this other stuff, and yet you want to keep your license. So they might give you a higher salary, but what good is it if you're never home? All right? So I did retire, but now I'm working again. So yes, my first goal on my bucket list was to work 50 years as an RN, and I did it. Okay. And the next one was to visit 50 states, and I'd have 2 left. And that's as far as I got on the bucket list. But in the meantime, I'm busy with my kids, my grandkids, my own health issues that kind of come up periodically. I'm 72, and I just get up every day and look at the sky and thank God that He's given me another day. And now I really try to take some time to meditate and to really look and be thankful for what we have. If you've never been to a third world country, you'll never really appreciate what we have here. Yes, we have problems. We got cookie people running around, but basically we're still the land that's home to the brave. Remember, when you see a patient, I don't care what level they are as far as military, just thank them for their service and give them the support and the help that they need, knowing they have gone through lots of different issues in their lives, and they want to come away knowing that you care for them as a human being. Now, does anybody have any questions on anything? Yes, ma'am.
I want to know what 2 states are left.
I'm sorry, what?
What 2 states are left?
Oh, you'll never guess. North Dakota and Hawaii. In fact, we're leaving next week, and I'm going to hit North Dakota, and I'm going to hit Hawaii in the fall. So yes, then I have to come up with a new thing on my bucket list. But it's so funny because right now I'm working part-time, and I never I retired 4 different times. Okay? But this time it was going to stick. Well, somebody ended up leaving, and they just asked me to fill in for a while. So. And every time I go, I say, remember, I'm filling in for a while. You got to keep looking for somebody full time. So I leave that in God's hands. But listen, you all are wonderful. I know every time I come to the VA and have to go through as a patient, I get the best reception from all of you. I have stood in your chairs, and I understand a lot of the frustrations that you face. But you know what? The best advice I can give any of you is when you leave here, leave your job here. Look at going home as a whole new adventure. Never take your work home, because then you can never separate out of it. All right? I don't care if you're married or unmarried or have kids or don't have kids. Give yourself a second life, because then you can come back here a little more refreshed each and every time you have to come. All right? Any other questions? Sorry I'm disjointed. That's all I did is tell me to talk about my experiences. But I can tell you, I was raised by a very strong mother. You heard of League of Their Own? Well, my mother was a member of League of Their Own. And so she raised her daughters to be very independent. And I think that's what I would bequeath you who have children, to let them know that anybody can do what they want if they set themselves with high standards. Everybody needs a goal. And everybody needs to work at that, no matter where they are or what they're doing. No one has the right to take that away from you. No one. Stand on your own 2 feet and let them know that you are important. All of you are gifts that God has given, and every one of us has a duty to perform. And I've always been under the aspect, each of us have a job, and when our job is complete, then God calls us home. So be ready. Maybe you haven't even met that challenge yet, but you will. Remember, Grandma Moses didn't start painting until she was in her 80s. So, anyhow, thank you again for having me.
Franklin, we really appreciate not only your words today, but
I
all
just
the,
joined it that it was.
you know what? The nice thing